Well, here's a game I never thought we would see. But after 22 years, we finally have a sequel to my favorite racing game from the GameCube. Kirby Air Riders released on November 20th, 2025 for the Nintendo Switch 2 as a follow-up to the fan-favorite game Kirby Air Ride that it released back in 2003. And boy did they come in with a lot of great additions for this long-awaited sequel that fans never thought would happen. For everyone that doesn't remember Kirby Air Ride or never played it for the GameCube, let me do a quick explanation of what made that game so special. And that was its simplicity. Unlike other racing games, you really only had 2 points of controls. You could steer left and right, and then by hitting the A button, you could brake, charge up a boost, and suck up nearby enemies to use their abilities. With the game being filled with references to the Kirby franchise up to that point, with the different enemies, abilities, and different vehicles you could choose from. But one of the biggest limitations of that game was you could only play as Kirby in a variety of different colors. And for the sequel, they kept the controls mostly the same, with the spirit of the original simplicity staying intact. But there are some new inputs, like the Y button that can be pressed to use a special attack. But otherwise, your vehicle will move forward on its own, with you only needing to steer and then press the A or B button in order to brake, which braking then allows you to adjust the direction you're going or charge up for a boost at any time. Then you can also absorb nearby enemies in order to take their abilities and use them during the race. But while these do seem simple, there are a lot of mechanics on top of this that make the game pretty complex. Like landing perfectly in order to get a boost after being launched in the air, or drifting around corners in order to perfectly get around the map. Luckily, there's lessons you can take that walk you through the controls of the game and slowly ramp up to teach you how to use these mechanics the game has. And now instead of just being able to select Kirby, there's a multitude of characters that you can select to race as. With the list of characters including the staple characters from the franchise, like King Dedede, Meta Knight, and Waddle Dee, but also including some of the more obscure characters and enemies as racers, like Susie from Kirby Planet Robobot, and Daroche from Kirby Squeak Squad, with you unlocking these characters by completing certain challenges throughout the different modes of the game, which this game is packed with a lot of content. For starters, there's Air Ride, which acts as your standard racing mode. Here you select your character, your vehicle, what track you want to race on, and how many NPCs you want to race against. There are 18 different race tracks total in the game, with 9 of them coming back from the previous game with some updated aesthetics to them. So there's some good variety to choose from when it comes to this mode and how you want to play it. But it is still the basic mode of the game. Then there's Top Ride mode, which is where you can play mini races that are presented from a top-down view. In these races, you select everything the same as Air Ride mode, and then you take off in these shorter burst races, which can be a little bit more chaotic with the tracks being smaller and everything being so small. Personally, I found this game mode to be terrible while playing it in handheld mode. But when I got on the big screen, I found it to be a lot more enjoyable, where you're just this tiny dot going through the racetrack. It has a certain point of controlled chaos about it, but there really isn't much depth to this mode. Then there's the City Trial. In this game mode, you select your character, and then you're dropped into an open world city to collect your upgrades. As you drift around, you have a set time limit to change your vehicle to one you find in the map randomly, as well as to collect different power-ups and stat boosts within the time limit. Once the time is up, you'll take your vehicle and all the stats that you collected, and you'll be able to take on one of the stadium challenges from a randomly selected few, like a race where you need to dodge lasers covering a straight passageway. If I'm being perfectly honest, I only played this game mode a couple times, because I personally found it to be pretty long and kind of boring. With the default timer being 5 minutes to go around the open world, collecting your stats and your vehicle and going to a single stadium mode selection, it just was not for me. But the main feature of this game is luckily the one I had the most fun with, and that was Road Trip. In this game mode, you start off as a character and take a journey along a road, coming across challenges, boss battles, and different items along the way, with there being an overarching story along the way, which is, well, how in the world is this a story for a racing game? This is just so dark. And what was the rating for this game again? I don't know what's going on, but I think someone needs to check in on Sakurai to make sure he's okay. Because I think all that stress from developing Smash Bros is starting to get to him if this is the kind of story he comes up with for a racing game. But this is where the real meat of the game is located and can be found, with you going through different environments with the same basic layout of going across a road, and coming across a selection of different stages you can compete in with different rewards, with there being times you'll come across different items, special events, bosses, and shops along the way, slowly leveling up your vehicle stats and changing your vehicle to meet the requirements of the challenges ahead, culminating in a final boss battle and race. This is probably the game mode I spent the most time on, where once you finish a run, you can start it up again and select a different path and focus your upgrades in a new way. And of course, as expected, there's even a secret ending to this mode as well. To me, this is where the game is the most fun. There is a lot of content in this game with these different game modes, and to a point it almost feels too packed, and a lot of that content just feels like mini-games, or the content feels misplaced. Air Ride mode is your standard racing mode. It feels right being here and it's kind of needed, but it feels lacking only having you select one course at a time. feels like it's missing some kind of mode where you get to select multiple tracks in a theme or go in the way of a best of 4 or something. Outside of just doing a quick race or doing some time trials, it just feels lacking. Then Top Ride just feels so gimmicky, I don't know why it's its own selection. It doesn't really feel any more special than the stadium options you can play in the city trials by themselves. But I will admit, even though I personally didn't care for city trial mode, it at least feels unique with Kirby Air Riders, and it's something I can see a lot of people enjoying. It does add a lot of variety to the game. It allows you to play these different stadium style challenges, which are the same ones that you'll run into on road trips, so if you find one you really like, you'll be able to replay it very easily. But I will say, one part of the game that is crazily detailed is the customization of vehicles. And it is crazily detailed in the best way. Personally, I love seeing these modes, but I do not have the level of creativity other people have in this game to make some of the insane vehicles I've seen. Like, just look at some of these ones that I found, like this Nintendo 3DS, or this one that looks like a giant GameCube. I'm so thankful you can buy these designs with the coins you earn from playing the different game modes, because I do not have the creativity or patience to make any of these awesome designs. And I love it when games give this kind of detailed ability to players to create their own custom creations, especially when there's a way for players to share it with others. And the game is a ton of fun to go through the races. The simple controls might feel like the game would be easy, but it is far from it, with the controls having a lot of nuance to them that make them pretty complex to master. And the online mode of this game reminded me very quickly that I still have a lot to learn from this game every time I try jumping into a quick race. Overall, I give Kirby Air Ride a 4 out of 5. I had a lot of fun with this game, and as a fan of the original, I basically got everything I hoped to see in the sequel here. While I do find some of the game modes lacking in features, I have to say the base of the game is still very fun, and does stand out as a different kind of racing game to experience. The controls being one of the biggest things that it's hard to get used to when you jump into the game. But as I played it more, I eventually got tuned into the controls and got into it just as much as I got into the original. But man, is the story of this game dark. Like, really dark. I'm shocked that this is the story that they gave a racing game. But then I remember this is a Kirby game. And what is a Kirby game if he doesn't end up fighting a space level threat at the end? So I guess I shouldn't be too shocked, but I would be lying if I didn't mention it caught me completely off guard while playing it. But I would say for anybody with a Switch 2 that's looking for a new kind of racing game, or something different from Mario Kart, to check this one out. Especially if you were a fan of the original Kirby Air Ride for the GameCube. But hey, let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on Kirby Air Riders. Did you play Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube? Did you get Air Riders or intend to? I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you like this review and want to see more, click that subscribe button. It helps us out a lot here and lets us know what kind of content you want to keep seeing. If you have suggestions for other games you think I should play, let us know as well. Until next time, this has been Brad with the Bickering Nerds.